Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison LaGrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Pakistan admits it requested a ceasefire with India last month after New Delhi's retaliatory strikes during Operation Sindoor. Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar says that Pakistan sought US and Saudi intervention to tell India it wanted a ceasefire. A US federal court allows President Donald Trump to maintain command of the currently deployed California National Guard in response to the Los Angeles protests against the anti-immigrant crackdown. NASA's Axiom 4 mission, set to carry India's Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla to the International Space Station, is delayed for the 6th time. The launch, earlier scheduled for the 22nd of June, now awaits a new date. British lawmakers debate legalising assisted dying for the terminally ill as Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government pushes for compassionate and safe choices for those with incurable diseases. And the Philippine Navy seizes an illegal drug shipment worth $175 million in one of the country's biggest narcotics hauls on record. The shipment was caught off the coast of Luzon Island. Hello and welcome. Let's start with the latest developments from West Asia. The conflict between Israel and Iran has entered its second week. Both sides continue to trade fire as fears of a wider war grip the region. In the latest, Iran launched a fresh attack on southern Israel on Friday morning. Following the Iranian attack, cars were set ablaze and residential buildings reportedly sustained heavy damage. According to Israeli paramedics, at least 6 people were injured in the missile attack. Sirens were sounded in several areas across Israel following the identification of missiles launched from Iran. As per Israeli emergency services, an Iranian missile hit Beersheba early on Friday. This comes a day after a missile hit a hospital in the same southern city. Following the attack, the Israeli military said that Iran had fired a single missile and that an interceptor had been fired in response but had failed to intercept it. Iran also reportedly launched a missile carrying cluster submunitions into central Israel on Thursday. Now, as per Israeli officials, this marks the first use of such weapons in the 8-day war. The Iranian missile reportedly scattered dozens of bomblets over civilian areas to maximize the chance of damage inflicted on the enemy side. Retaliating to Iranian attacks, Israel's military said that it struck dozens of targets in Tehran overnight. Posting a video of the reported operation on X, the Israeli Defense Forces said that over 60 fighter jets struck dozens of military targets in Iran using approximately 120 munitions. Several industrial sites used to manufacture missiles were also reportedly struck in the Tehran area. The Israeli army also said that it struck the SPND headquarters in Tehran, which was used for the development of advanced technologies and weapons, supporting the Iranian regime's military capabilities. 4 UAVs launched from Iran were also reportedly intercepted by Israel. In another post on X, Israel reiterated its claim of maintaining aerial superiority in the Iranian airspace. The IDF said that the Israeli Air Force fighter jets struck several Iranian missile systems. The radar installations in the areas of Isfahan and Tehran, which were intended to target IDF aircraft and disrupt their operations. Now, taking a look at the mounting human cost of the ongoing conflict, according to Israeli authorities, the body of a woman was recovered on Thursday from a building struck by an Iranian missile 4 days earlier, taking the overall death toll in Israel to 25 since the war began. Meanwhile, Israeli strikes had killed at least 224 people in Iran, including military commanders, nuclear scientists, and civilians. As the conflict between Israel and Iran rages on, we will keep bringing you the latest updates from the region as they emerge. Now, as the Israel-Iran war continues to rage, the spotlight remains on the US President Donald Trump, who is mulling whether or not to unleash American firepower into an already explosive battlefield. If the US does intervene, Iran says it would invite its definite retribution. Now, in the latest, the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, called potential American intervention in the war as a sign of Israel's weakness. The Iranian statement came amid reports that dozens of US military aircraft are no longer on the tarmac of a major airbase in the Qatar close to Iran, a possible move to shield them from potential Iranian airstrikes. Now, reports say on the 5th of June, that is 8 days before Israel launched its Operation Rising Lion against Iran, 40 US military aircraft were visible at the Al Udeid US airbase in Qatar. The report, citing satellite images, added that on the 19th of June, only 3 military aircraft were visible. Meanwhile, the US Embassy in Qatar announced that the access to the base would be limited out of an abundance of caution amid the ongoing war. And here's why it matters. The base is just 300 kilometers from the Iran border. Experts say a few targeted strikes could disable it, potentially leaving American forces incapable of carrying out a mission. The US has been beefing up its forces in the region since Israel launched its strikes on Iran. A third US Navy destroyer entered the region this week, and a second US carrier strike group is heading toward the Arabian Sea. The Pentagon says the moves are defensive. But will Donald Trump pull the trigger of American intervention in the war? The White House says the president will decide in 2 weeks whether or not to enter the war.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Reports in the Western media suggested Trump has already approved of the attack plans against Iran, but in the next 2 weeks, he would wait to see if Tehran would abandon its nuclear program, a Western demand which the Trump administration believes would be enough to put an end to Israel's ongoing offensive against Iran. 2 weeks. The timer for a potential American intervention has now begun. As the war zone expands and American jets vanish from vulnerable tarmacs, the biggest question in global politics remains: will Trump jump into this war or back off? And as the Iran-Israel war continues to flare up, it's not just West Asia that's feeling the heat. China, the world's largest oil importer, now finds itself caught in the crossfire of energy and geopolitics. For years, Beijing has carefully built up a strategic relationship with Tehran. Cheap Iranian crude, along with oil from the Gulf, has been the bedrock of China's energy security. In 2024 alone, Iran shipped over 1.6 million barrels a day to China, making up as much as 15% of China's oil imports. But as Israel strikes deep inside Iran and tensions flare, these oil routes remain at risk. Iran has already threatened to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. the crucial narrow waterway through which a third of the world's seaborne oil passes. If that happens, China faces a nightmare scenario, cut off from not just Iranian, but all Gulf supplies. Chinese President Xi Jinping has urged calm between the two sides at war, but with little influence to stop the fighting, Beijing is stuck watching its energy security slip. At the same time, the US sanctions on Iran and Western military presence in the region leave China mostly sidelined. Reports say that China has been building a strategic oil reserve, enough to last around 100 days if supplies are disrupted. But if this conflict spreads or drags on, that buffer may prove to be woefully inadequate. But could China replace Iranian oil? Does Xi Jinping's geoeconomics have enough alternatives to deal with the potential oil supply threat? Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, who together supply China's LNG and crude, are Beijing's options. But prices would soar, and energy importers in China could be forced into spot market at premium rates. This would be seen as a further bad news for the world's second largest economy, which is already struggling with slow growth. The big picture: China's long plan for energy security, shifting away from oil and into renewables, suddenly looks urgent. Even as solar, wind, and electric vehicles grow fast in China, Beijing is still hooked on foreign oil. For China, the Israel-Iran war isn't just about geopolitics. It's a wake-up call on energy, and arguably the biggest unseen cost of the escalating crisis is China, the world's biggest oil importer, emerging as the biggest geoeconomic casualty of the ongoing war between Iran and Israel. And for our last story, let's turn our attention to Indian money parked in Swiss banks. As per the latest annual figures released by the Swiss National Bank, or the SNB, Indian money held in Swiss banks has more than tripled in 2024, reaching 3.5 billion Swiss francs, or nearly $4.2 billion. The current figures are the highest since 2021. As per media reports, most of the increase came from funds held through bank channels and other financial entities, and not individual customer accounts. Deposits directly from Indian customers rose a modest 11%, reaching nearly $424 million. These deposits make up just 1/10 of the total Indian money parked in Swiss banks. Meanwhile, the data from the Bank for International Settlement, or the BIS, which is considered as a more reliable measure for deposits by Indian individuals in Swiss banks, also showed an uptick. These funds rose 6% in 2024 to $74.8 million. Coming back to the data released by the Swiss National Bank, let's break down these figures. Now, as per the SNB, the total of nearly $4.2 billion reflects all liabilities of Swiss banks toward Indian clients at the end of 2023. Now, this includes nearly $3.7 billion held through other banks, nearly $424 million in customer accounts, nearly $50 million via fiduciaries or trusts, and nearly $165 million in other instruments like bonds and securities. The SNB data is based on official reports by banks and does not reveal details about alleged black money or accounts held through entities in other countries. However, Swiss authorities have consistently stated that funds held by Indian residents in Switzerland should not be automatically considered illicit, and they have reiterated their commitment to cooperating with India to combat tax evasion and fraud. To combat the problem of black money, an automatic information sharing agreement on tax matters has been in place between the two countries since 2018. Now, under this agreement, detailed account data of Indian residents with Swiss institutions is shared annually starting from September of 2019. Switzerland has also provided specific account details in numerous cases where India has presented preliminary evidence of financial wrongdoing. Hundreds of such exchanges have already taken place. This rise in funds in Swiss banks has also positively impacted India's global standing. While foreign client funds in Swiss banks overall saw a slight decline, but Indian clients' assets increased by about 9%. Now, this pushed India up in the global rankings to 48th place from 67th in 2023. The United Kingdom continues to lead the list of countries with the highest foreign holdings in Swiss banks. As these figures do not account for the illicit money parked in Swiss banks, the issue of alleged black money continues to be a political hot potato in India and other countries across the world. And that's all we have for you on the show for today. We will see you again next week. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost. Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI